What is up, Drum Alert Nation? I'm your host, Killer Keemstar. Let's get right into the news. Now, today we have an important discussion here on some of the problems with YouTube and the system and for content creators. And because a big portion of the people that watch Drum Alert are YouTubers, I figured this would be a good discussion to have here. We have on the line GradeAUnderA, I Hate Everything, and Sky Williams. Now, most of this discussion started with GradeAUnderA. He made a video, Make YouTube Great Again. If you could sum up kind of the main points of that video and talk about what's happened since, Grade A.
Okay, in short, like I think everyone agrees that YouTube's kind of going downhill and all this kind of stuff. As in, why is that happening? You can all debate it yourselves. But what the reason I think is happening is that YouTube has its 7 community guidelines, but no one, in a sense, they're not enforcing it. Many people are breaking it, etc., etc. Since then, I made my video where I started a campaign, which was the hashtag Make YouTube Great Again. And in a sense, it seems like a success because it got the YouTube CEO to reply to me, right? Or not me, but us in a sense. What's happened to me since then is that like some really big guy at YouTube, at Google, has kind of leaned. He started emailing me this and that. And we've had like a few conversations and this and that. So it shows that they are trying to do something, but again, it's not the kind of thing that will happen instantly, but they've opened up some form of communication to maybe fix things in the future. So things are moving forward, but we'll see how it goes.
That's good. That's good. It seems promising. Okay, I Hate Everything. You uploaded a video talking about the damn Daniel thing, and I mean, your name says it all. You hate everything. You were roasting it. Right. You know, you had a strong opinion on it. And then all of a sudden, you get a content ID by apparently the owner of the audio and visual of the damn Daniel video. What's going on with that?
What's going on with it? Well, it basically boils down to this weird, murky problem that is fair use and the way it works on YouTube. Like, think about some of the most popular YouTubers right now. PewDiePie, he operates on fair use. Screen Junkies, you know, they use movie clips and all that. Like, fair use is so murky. We need some kind of, you know, cut and dry definition. Well, the problem is there is no line for where fair use is drawn. So there's an argument, a strong argument for both sides. And ultimately, it comes down to, well, how the hell are we going to fix this or change this? Like,
do you think YouTube's to blame because of the system? Do you think they can make a better system that makes it more cut and dry?
I understand the stance YouTube is taking, but they do need to tweak and adjust the systems in place in terms of false punishments and, you know, just a lack of communication, basically. They need to be more on point with that sort of thing.
Now, Sky Williams, your position is that, you know, YouTube's not to blame here. You criticized Grade A's video. You criticized people that are abusing copyright, and I think maybe I Hate Everything would fall under that. What is your position?
On just YouTube?
Yeah, on this whole situation.
I mean, my position is that, though it's a very terrible thing that's going on, my position is that we need to gear our anger towards who actually deserves it, and I don't believe that YouTube deserves any anger when it comes to these copyright infringement strikes and claims.
And why is that? I mean, YouTube set up the system prior to this content ID system. There was another system in place on YouTube where the people that filed the copyright IDs or strikes or whatever, they had the option to take the video down or mute the audio. All right. Now, since then, there's this new content ID system where they can basically take all the money made on that video and still keep the video up. I think this has opened up an avenue for abuse on the person filing the copyright content ID.
Okay, I mean, sure, you're absolutely right. But these rules that YouTube puts in place are only in a response to how strict the DMCA rules are. And so it's more like the only reason why the rule changed not in favor of us is because YouTube had to put a shield around itself to prevent getting sued. Because before this was put in place, YouTube was having to deal with a lot of lawsuits, and now they don't want to risk getting involved and taking a lot of hits legally. So they put this system in place that is, yes, abusable, but that's still something they had to do to protect themselves, which is it's not stupid to think about for a huge company like that.
But it's being abused left and right, all right?
100%.
It's being abused left and right. So there needs to be a better system, correct? Or there needs to be some type of fix here.
there needs to be a better law. The law right now is just, there's no line to draw. It's outdated. We've definitely, like, we've completely circumvented what people thought, you know, like media could be. I mean, people have React channels. I mean, that's just the lowest creativity thing you can have, but it's a form of media, right?
I think we're all in agreement to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that people have tried to evolve the way that we watch content. Therefore, these laws about, you know, intellectual property, if there is any intellect to have for some of these content creators, like, you know, what does that actually mean? So, you know, if Reactor 22 is looking at a video, you know, like, is that actual intellectual property? Can we put intellect behind that? These rules and laws need to be updated. And once these are updated, YouTube will have a much better time creating a system where they don't have to worry about getting sued for Vlogger 76, you know?
Right, but in order to change the laws, right, you're talking about YouTubers crowdfunding or putting a certain amount of their money in towards, like, having a lobbyist, right, and towards, you know, going to Washington and trying to change the law. That's probably not going to happen, especially, and that's not going to happen anytime
And why is
soon.
that? Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, because I just don't see that would be something very hard.
Right. And see, here's the thing. That's why these people are getting away with it, is because the solutions are difficult. But remember, we're on YouTube. Most of us are nerds. I'm a fucking nerd. A lot of people just, like, don't want to do the effort. It's why we order pizza instead of making a sandwich.
Right, but content creators here on YouTube are partners with YouTube. Shouldn't YouTube defend their partners?
YouTube is not going to stick their neck out for somebody that they're not going to make money for. Like I just said, like, YouTube, even though, you know, Vlogmaster 76 might have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is no small feat, and all of these people put their hearts and souls in the video, YouTube really can't give a fuck, because they're not going to risk being wrong and take, like, $2 million in, like, civil assessments. They're just not going to do that. And that's completely reasonable. YouTube is not in the position to help its creators, you know, in their entirety right now.
Grade A, what is your position? What can YouTube do to make this a better system?
Well, in a sense, it's hard because, for example, the community guidelines are pretty easy to an extent, but copyright becomes one of those ones where it's so grey, some of the things that, for example, so one person might see it as, oh, this is copyright infringement, another person sees it as not. So in a sense, I don't know. There's things that can be done, but with regards to how can you get rid of it completely,
well, Grade A, you actually in your video made a very genius point of what you feel is transformative versus what you feel is just, you know, infringement, where you put H3, and I totally agree with you, as someone who takes content and transforms it into his own thing. But then you get, you know, a reactor like Jinx or that guy with the beanie that sat there and, you know, said 5 words with barely any facial expressions. Like, that's not transformative at all. You know. So I think that's the direction. You helped people draw the line. Now we just need to get a court case and set a precedent. That's what we need.
Do you want to think is there's certain things like, you know, you're saying things like, oh, if the law changes, that's the ideal situation. I think with the law, with the legal side of copyright, that's one of those things that could happen, but there's a lot that goes into it. But for example, YouTube could set the precedent of things like you said yourself, making an example of someone. Things like I just think reaction channels are a joke. And I find it ridiculous that YouTube lets it go on. Like today, For Your Entertainment is a channel that made this amazing video, just completely picking apart reaction channels. And I think it's one of the things that I cannot believe that YouTube's okay with it. Because we work so hard to make our content, but then they can pump out the video in 20 minutes. That's ridiculous. Okay,
well, to be fair, you know, there are a lot of channels that aren't good. I mean, the Gabby Show, for example, literally just steals jokes. But because she's an above average looking female and she captivates a lot of the audience and she collabs with other popular YouTubers, she's gonna live in infamy because a 13-year-old girl isn't gonna know that she steals jokes from the great Louis C.K. And she can just DMC anyone because feminism, she's gonna hide behind that.
Wait, so I know Gabby's a joke thief, all right, but did she really, like, people that upload videos talking about her, did she really content ID their videos?
Yeah, I know for a fact she tried to copyright a guy called Doc Reviews or something like this.
Yeah, Doc Reviews. He was on Reddit, and that guy is a brilliant deadpan sarcastic comment. I hope he makes I hope he makes more content. But yes, That did happen.
So
And
we
that's how
don't. So
broken
we
the
don't just
system
have these companies representing, independent music artists filing these content IDs, but we also have other YouTubers abusing it as well.
Oh, of course, and that just makes them shitty people. But we need to punish the shitty people in the MCNs and not condemn the host in which this is happening, because just because we're on the platform of YouTube, it does not mean that it's YouTube's fault. Even though it's easy to just blame YouTube, it's not YouTube's fault at all.
No, but Sky, to be honest, YouTube's not the reason it's happening. But in a sense, YouTube has some responsibility in allowing it to continue to happen.
YouTube's rules that are in place is I genuinely believe, and you're not going to believe it, but it's the best that they can do without putting themselves at risk. Like I said earlier, the example of YouTube being part of, like, YouTube is a hitman, and the mafia is the one that keeps hiring YouTube to shoot us, the content creators. But YouTube is indiscriminate; they just shoot at us. It doesn't matter if we're right or in the wrong. YouTube does not know. People just keep hiring this hitman to come and shoot us. The problem is,
what is
I
the
get that.
bulletproof
Look,
vest?
Sky, but in a sense, for example, you have channels like I Hate Everything and Team 4-Star who are doing, in a sense, nothing wrong, but their channel gets taken down. So in a sense, YouTube is stamping down the authority and saying these channels are being shut down. At the moment, I see it as they've only shut down channels that don't deserve it, but no channel that deserves it has been shut down yet.
Yep.
But you have to remember, the shutdown of these channels are not, it's not like YouTube is reviewing and saying, okay, and they press the button and then it gets shut down. Oftentimes, YouTube withdraws from the situation and says, okay, you guys deal with it because I'm not going to be a part of it.
Well, we can't deal with it though because there's no way of contacting anyone. I still don't really know why.
And
Right.
and with
like
these
a call line or anything.
And with these content IDs, all right, there is no punishment at all for issuing false content IDs.
Yes, and look, I don't like being on this side of the argument because I know that it seems like I'm just making excuses for YouTube, but I promise you that this is just kind of the harsh reality, is that there is no punishment for these people because the laws do not give enough leeway for YouTube to give you that room. There just isn't.
Sky, I'm with you. I'm with you on that because like it all started from when Viacom sued YouTube for $1 billion. Like as a business, they need to protect themselves from being liable, basically.
Right.
So going out there and trying to take sides is when things can go horribly wrong for them. So they need to be impartial in a certain way. But you need to be able to be open a bit more. You need to be able to communicate. There's a fine line.
And Channel Awesome did a wonderful job of illustrating exactly what YouTube is at fault for, which is, when you claim a video, the money should go into a separate bank, and then, whoever wins gets the money. That makes sense. But see, that's step 7, 8, and 9, and we're still on step 1. And yes, YouTube doesn't have
What's
the
step
best
2?
communication skills.
What's step 2?
Okay, so step 2, I believe, is to at least after we have the precedent, because I believe step 1 is to get a lawyer, crowdfund a lawyer for someone who's 100% wronged, sue the MCN or the dirtbag that is behind it, get a precedent. Step 2, I believe, is get that precedent, and with the platform that we are, send this message to everyone out there that thinks they can get away with taking down a channel, and they think, okay, this is easy money, I don't have to cover my bases. Oh wait, this person got sued, maybe I'm gonna watch my back. That's gonna stall out enough time for YouTube to be able to be like, hey, look, we need to make a new legislative law. That's where they can help us. They can be like, hey, we have the power and money. You obviously have a lawsuit that clearly shows what's going on our platform is illegal. Now we have a tool to fight back. Now we as YouTube can promote or at least, endorse this.
Okay, so let's say that happens, right? Let's say a bunch of YouTubers get together and we crowdfund a class action lawsuit, let's say against the guys that represent Damn Daniel, Merlin, all right?
Okay.
And that's in place. It's still too easy for companies or MCNs to file content IDs with little chances that there's going to be a class action lawsuit against them, even after a class action lawsuit has taken place.
Sure.
Another thing, Sky, when you're saying things like, oh, we'll do the lawsuit and then we'll change the law, like how realistic do you think that is in actually happening?
It's not.
Well, to be fair, Grade A, not to, just meat ride you, but it was pretty unrealistic for a YouTuber to say something and get a response out of the CEO of YouTube. But Susan, the genius that she is, tweeted at you, even though I believe that it's still not YouTube's fault and that response was because she was being lynch mobbed. But she's a brilliant woman. She knows what she's doing, and she tweeted at you, meaning at some point in time, you made a difference. So you might think it's impossible. A lot of people think that what you did is impossible. So, I think anything.
I
can
mean,
happen.
Donald
Even-
Trump tweeted out "Make YouTube Great Again." So
Okay, yeah,
you
Donald
know.
Trump also. I'm not even gonna get into that. Donald Trump said a lot of things, Keemstar. Okay, so we're just gonna. And anyway, next, I think that even though it does sound like some far-fetched Disney movie, and it sounds like it's gonna be very hard, I believe that it is a realistic step to what we need to do to actually make a difference in our space. Is to get a precedent set and to show these people that we just can't be shoved around. Because you're right, Keemstar, it's really easy to abuse this law. And I don't mean to make this graphic comparison, but it's just easy to get a gun. And we've seen these people mess up, a lot of things for it. But we can take steps to prevent that from happening. Airports have taken steps to prevent anything from happening in their airport. And even though it doesn't eradicate everything, it limits it to a very small percentage.
Okay,
That's
I have an
what
example
we need
right now. There's a guy called Kostoff TK from the COD community. All right. He has got permission from the artist to use a song, and he used it in a lot of his videos. He had like 20 or 30 videos get content ID'd, and all the money made on those videos are now going to some other guy. When he had permission, when he had written permission, or some company. How is that fair? It's not fair. And how can you fix it? A lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, which would be really hard to do, that's not going to fix it. And this type of situation, all right, YouTube, I think, needs to hire someone to be the judge and jury on this. If Kostoff proves, hey, look, I got permission, then they should be able to shut that company down and give all the money back to him.
Okay, so in parts, one, the problem with that is I'm not arguing on whether or not this system is fair, because I know that it's unfair. What I'm saying is that this system is only here to protect YouTube.
Okay, that's fine, but what the other position is that YouTube needs to be more involved to make it more fair to the creators.
Right, okay, so that's very hard for YouTube to do. So what's the YouTuber's name?
Kostoff?
Kostoff? No, I'm familiar with his content. The problem is that he himself more than likely does not generate enough money for the site for YouTube to spend multiple millions of dollars on a lawyer that would never get it wrong. Do you understand? So if they hired someone to help with these things, remember, 30 different cases of DMC of claiming, right? So that lawyer would have to go through each one of them and decide.
But Sky, the company is not going to take Kostoff to court. The only reason why the company filed this stuff is because they knew they could get away with it. They know they're going to get the money regardless.
Correct.
They're not going to actually take YouTube to court over this.
100%, because just like I said in my other analogy, all they're doing is just using YouTube as a hitman.
So it's the system. It's the system that's wrong.
It's the law. It's the law that pretty much vice grips YouTube into making these stupid standards. It's the law that YouTube is so afraid of that if they are wrong, millions of dollars gets taken from them, and that sucks. And that I don't like it either. But you can't blame YouTube because they're just following the DMCA's law. That's it.
No, Sky, don't you think it's kind of weird that a huge company like YouTube has no way of being able to contact anyone specifically? Like when Derek Savage striked my channel and it was completely weird and wrong, I had to wait 30 days when if I'd spoken to a human it would have been sorted in 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. No. I agree. I think it is weird, and even though I do have a lot of faith in the CEO, I think that she's brilliant, I still feel like it's weird, and I'm too ignorant to know exactly why they don't have that. But what I can tell you is that they definitely have these rules in place. And wait, because you couldn't contact anyone, right?
No, I had to just wait for it to automatically go away.
Can we all agree that YouTube needs to be more involved?
Definitely.
No doubt.
They need to be more involved in these situations. If
If
a person from YouTube was involved in the Kostoff situation, Kostoff would have got all his, money for all those videos back, and the person filing the claim or the company filing the claim would have been told, "You're wrong here. Stop," and that would have been the end of it.
But
I really believe that.
I mean, I do too. You're not wrong, but here's the
So
problem.
the problem is YouTube needs to be more involved.
No, Keemstar, Gabby should not steal jokes. Reaction channels should be deleted. Just because something should happen doesn't mean that it's plausible that it will. Because those people are untalented and they're just scraping.
I get all that, but
Grade A's
point, I believe, is that YouTube should be more involved.
Yeah, but they can't be, because if they're wrong
No,
by any
they-
stretch, everything falls apart.
They
No,
can
no,
get
no.
involved without, being liable. If someone
No, but-
talked to me, then it would have been sorted.
Sky, and another thing, for example, like some of the things that you say with the law, yes, they have to cover their backs and stuff. But when the only thing they're doing wrong is breaking the community guidelines. For example, CJ is so cool when he recently made a video being racist to someone and telling her to kill herself.
Okay.
Whilst that's not illegal, it is absolutely against the community guidelines.
Right.
So there's no liability on YouTube's part. There's no liability. It's just we have rules. You broke it. You should be gone. So why did they not do that? Why did they not do that?
Okay, that excellent point. Because the community guidelines that are set in place are ones that are created by YouTube. So yes, they're going to be more, an advocate for that. But their rulings on copyright strikes, that's not YouTube's thing. They only put a system to make it easier for you to facilitate it. But the rule is from the DMCA, has nothing to do with YouTube. So
No doubt. But Jermaine's like the thing that we're saying is that YouTube needs to be more involved. Like, I see it crazy that copyright is hard for them to do, but even when a YouTube guideline's been broken, they're not doing anything about that. It just says to me that they're taking so much of a backseat.
Oh, okay, no, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask you. So the guy's video, he says kill yourself, right?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen if that video stays up? YouTube is not gonna lose money. It's just gonna look like an ugly blemish on that site. But then again, CJ's so cool, no matter how you slice it, his channel's not exactly massive either. So YouTube can just ignore it because two things. One, they're not losing money. And two, those people in the grand scheme of YouTube are irrelevant. I don't mean to sound like a dick. I'm irrelevant too.
But then what's the point of having the rules if you're not going to enforce them? What's the point in saying don't do this? Then when someone does that, just go whatever. What's the point of having the rules then?
I believe the system in place for community guideline strikes are based on people flagging, right?
Yeah.
It's totally broken, yeah.
No, but one of the hard parts is that he has his fan base. The only his videos do not go viral. He doesn't really get a particular lot of views from the outside. The only people that view his videos are his fans, and he has loads of fans saying, "Yeah, kill yourself," backing him.
Okay, well, I mean, the internet's just a scary place. Like everyone's gonna say and do some very, very dumb things. But I believe that, yeah, you're right. In that sense, the flagging is bad and is not good on YouTube's part. And I think that you woke YouTube up to that, Grade A. You did. Your video did a great job. Once again, Susan tweeted at you. And she's a smart woman. I'm sure that's all going to be taken care of. I'm very confident that you have made a change in that area.
So,
what I'm saying is YouTube's hand has nothing to do with the DMCA laws that are put on the site.
So I think we all just kind of hope that YouTube gets more involved in these situations. Because I think that would be a better result for everybody, all the creators, and even the people, filing the content ID strikes.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the last thing I want to say on that
Joe, by the way, to give them credit in a sense, because we're saying that they should be more involved. To an extent, they have shown that. Like, for example, with Susan tweeting at me, I hate everything, and Channel Awesome. And also, because I'm talking about that, guys, in a sense, they are showing that they do want to. So fingers crossed it comes on, you know what I mean?
And I think that's great. I think a positive change is coming. YouTube is in a bad spot now, and I think a lot of creators would agree with that with all these content IDs. All right, I feel like everyone could follow along with what's being said here. I think it was a great discussion. Guys, we want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Please don't put 1 like equals, you win $1 million and ignore and your family dies.
That's just all over your comment section.
That's all over every comment section.
Well, no, but you told them not to. They're
now they want to do it more.
I want to see actual discussion in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, enjoyed the discussion here, make sure you slap a like on it. Drama Alert Nation now over 1,095,000 subscribers.